Imagine a world bathed in candlelight, where the only sounds are the scratch of a quill and the turning of vellum pages. This isn't just history, it's a journey into the heart of artistic devotion. Uncover the serene artistry and quiet dedication that shaped our understanding of the past within the walls of a scriptorium. Imagine a world long ago where a profound stillness settled over the land after dusk. Imagine this world bathed not in the harsh glow of electric light, but in the soft, warm, dancing embrace of candlelight, where the only sounds to break the deep silence are the rhythmic, gentle scratch of a quill and the quiet turning of heavy vellum pages. This isn't just history. It's a journey into the very heart of artistic devotion and intellectual sanctuary. Tonight we will uncover the serene artistry and quiet, patient dedication that have shaped our understanding of the past, all within the hushed, thick stone walls of a medieval scriptorium. Our journey begins in an era of great change and in many ways great uncertainty. The Roman Empire, which for centuries had been a beacon of law, order, and knowledge, had slowly, inexorably crumbled. With its fall, much of the classical learning, the great libraries, and the accumulated wisdom of the ancient world were in danger of being lost forever. Imagine, if you will, a world where the very idea of a book, a library, or a formal school was slowly fading, like a distant memory. This was a world that desperately needed a quiet, unwavering guardian of knowledge. And it found one, not in a great army or a powerful king, but in the humble and dedicated hearts of the monks of the early medieval period. They understood, profoundly and silently, the necessity of preserving knowledge, ensuring that the light of learning would not be completely extinguished in the turmoil that followed Rome's decline. For these early monks, monastic life was about far more than just prayer and silent contemplation. While these were central to their spiritual lives, their daily routine often included another equally vital duty. They became librarians, scholars, copyists, and quiet guardians of civilization. They took on the immense and often solitary task of reading, copying, and carefully preserving the fragile, ancient texts that held the collective wisdom of humanity. These texts were not just religious scriptures. They included works on medicine, philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, and law. Imagine the deep, quiet hum of immense dedication that filled their days. This was a hum born not of sound, but of a shared, powerful purpose, a profound commitment to saving the past for the future, the very existence of our modern knowledge. Our understanding of the classical world stands on the shoulders of their painstaking, quiet work. So, let's set the scene, allowing the soft, immersive ambience of the medieval scriptorium to wash over you. Imagine a large, calm room with thick stone walls, designed to be a sanctuary from the world outside. The air inside is cool and carries the unique, calming scent of old parchment, dry ink, perhaps a hint of beeswax from the candles used for light. The light itself is often scarce, precious, and therefore all the more beautiful. It might filter in through a tall, narrow window, casting a long, gentle beam that illuminates a single, large wooden desk. Or, in the later hours of the day, it might come from a few flickering candles, their tiny flames dancing softly, creating a sense of warmth and tranquility. The sounds in this room are minimal, deliberate, and deeply soothing. Now, you hear the rhythmic, subtle scratch of a quill on parchment, the soft thud of a heavy book being opened, the gentle whisper of a page being turned. These are not loud sounds, but the very audible notes of intellectual devotion. The quiet music of a bygone era's commitment to learning. These monks lived a life of strict discipline, but within that discipline was a deep rhythm of devotion and diligence that guided their every action. Their schedule was structured around the monastic hours. From matins, the earliest morning prayer, to Compline, the final prayer before sleep, their days were punctuated by the quiet ring of a small bell, a gentle signal that moved them from prayer to work, from meal to rest. This rhythm was not just for spiritual purposes, created a profound sense of order and predictability in their lives, which was perfect for the meticulous work of the scriptorium. They were able to focus their minds completely on the task at hand, their work becoming a form of prayer, a meditative act of creation. The scratch of the quill, the careful application of gold leaf, and the slow, rhythmic movements of their bodies were all part of this disciplined yet deeply peaceful flow. The profound stillness of their surroundings allowed for an inner, quiet that fueled their ability to perform such painstaking work for hours on end, without distraction. The work they did was not just about copying, it was about protecting. They were like quiet librarians of a civilization in need. When a text arrived in the Scriptorium, it was often in fragile condition. It would take immense care to clean it, to repair its torn pages, and to then begin the arduous process of making a new, clean copy. Imagine the reverence in their hands as they carefully handled these ancient, priceless documents. The soft rustle of the brittle parchment, the quiet creak of a book's worn spine. Their movements would be slow, deliberate, a testament to the immense value they placed on every single word. This was a sacred duty, a quiet act of defiance against the slow, patient erosion of time and the chaotic forces that sought to erase the past. The tools of their trade were humble, yet their work was monumental. The monk's simple wooden desk, the inkpot carefully filled with homemade ink, the quills, often made from goose feathers and meticulously sharpened. And of course, the parchment, or vellum, which was made from the stretched, prepared skin of animals. The parchment was a precious and expensive material, and the scribes took immense care not to waste a single inch of it. Their work was one of a kind, a beautiful, quiet creation. These simple tools, when wielded with skill, brought words to life on a page, preserving thoughts and stories for centuries to come. The very silence of their craft was a form of preservation, for in that quiet, every word, every letter, every detail was given its proper, undivided attention. Having gently set the stage in the quiet sanctuary of the medieval Scriptorium, let us now turn our attention to the heart of the matter, the very life of the scribe monk himself. We will explore what a day in their world truly felt like, a world governed by a rhythm of devotion and diligence, where every action, from prayer to writing, was a part of a larger, serene purpose. Imagine waking up in the profound darkness of the pre-dawn hours, the sound of a bell, a small, gentle chime echoing through the cold. Stone halls of the monastery signals the beginning of the day. This is the first of many canonical hours, the periods of prayer that structured a monk's life. From matins, the earliest morning prayer, to Compline, the final prayer before a night's rest, the day was divided into predictable segments. This rhythm was not just for spiritual purposes. It created a profound sense of order and predictability in their lives, which was the perfect, calm foundation for the meticulous, focused work of the Scriptorium. They moved from prayer to work, from simple meal to rest, guided by the gentle ring of that bell. Their quiet footsteps echoing softly in the cold corridors. After the morning prayers, and often a very simple breakfast, the monks would make their way to the Scriptorium. Here, their quiet work of copying and preserving texts would begin. But their work was a patient art, starting with the tools themselves. The monk's simple wooden desk, often called a carrel, was their world. It would be sturdy, perhaps worn smooth from centuries of use. On it, the tools of their monumental work, a carefully prepared inkpot, a quill, and the precious parchment. The monk would begin by taking a simple, almost silent breath, a deep sigh that signaled the mind's transition from prayer to the focused, silent work of the day. Let's explore these humble tools of the trade in detail, for they were the silent partners in this grand act of preservation. The quill, often made from a strong goose feather, was not something that was simply picked up and used. It had to be meticulously made and maintained. Imagine a monk, in a moment of stillness, using a small, sharp knife to carefully carve the tip of the feather. The sound would be a very soft, delicate shave, as the fine point was shaped and sharpened to a perfect point. Then, a tiny slit was cut into the tip to help the ink flow smoothly. The entire process was one of focused patience, a quiet craft in its own right, ensuring the tool was worthy of the sacred text it would create. The parchment or vellum, the surface upon which the words would be written, was also not a simple piece of paper. It was made from the stretched, prepared skin of an animal, which made it incredibly strong and durable, but also expensive. Imagine the unique texture of this material, smooth and velvety on one side, but slightly rougher on the other. It would have a particular, subtle, dry scent. The monk would first prepare the parchment, gently smoothing its surface with a pumice stone, a quiet sifting sound in the room to ensure a perfect writing surface. This material, which could last for 1,000 years or more, was a physical manifestation of their commitment to preserving knowledge for eternity. And then, the ink. The scribes of the Scriptorium didn't use ink from a bottle as we do today. They made their own, often from natural sources like oak galls mixed with iron sulfate. Imagine the quiet, methodical process of mixing these ingredients. A low, gentle scrape of a stirring rod against a bowl. The faint, earthy aroma of the mixture. The ink pot, a simple pot made of ceramic or horn, would be placed on the desk, a silent vessel for the words that would soon be born. The sound of a quill being dipped into the ink pot would be a very soft, deliberate plink or a gentle dip, a sound of a tool being readied for its task. Once the tools were ready, the copying would begin. The monk would sit at his carrel, the simple wooden desk. He would have a copy of the original text he was working from, and a blank piece of prepared parchment. He would not just copy. He would read the words silently, understand them, and then slowly, and with immense concentration, transcribe them. The sound of this labor was the rhythmic. Soft scratch, scratch, scratch of the quill as it moved across the parchment, sound that would fill the scriptorium for hours on end. It was the sound of history being preserved, one letter at a time. This profound stillness of their surroundings allowed for an inner quiet that fueled their ability to perform such painstaking work for hours on end. Without the distractions of the outside world, but this profound dedication came at a cost, a very real physical toll. This was not an easy life. The monk's work was slow, meticulous, and incredibly demanding on the body. One of the most common physical challenges they faced was eye strain. Imagine spending hours and hours every day. It's often in dim light, working on small, intricate lettering and detailed illustrations. The light from a small window or the faint glow of a candle would be a constant strain on their vision. You can almost feel the quiet rubbing of tired eyes, the slow, deliberate blinks as the monk tried to refocus. The headaches that would surely come, the quiet ache behind the eyes, were simply part of the job. The other physical toll was on their hands. The repetitive, precise motion of holding a quill and writing for hours on end led to cramped hands. Imagine the constant tension in the fingers, the quiet ache that would develop in the wrist. A monk might stop for a moment, gently stretching his fingers, a silent, slow flex of a tired hand. The sound of a faint, tired sigh, a barely audible would be a part of their quiet routine as they fought against the body's fatigue. This was the sheer endurance required for each page. It took an immense amount of patience and physical stamina to sit in the same position, doing the same repetitive motion day after day, for months or even years to complete a single manuscript. The profound stillness of their body and the relentless activity of their mind and hands were a testament to their unwavering dedication and their profound commitment to their sacred duty. Having followed the diligent scribe through a day of disciplined, repetitive copying, our quiet journey now leads us to a new, more colorful, profoundly beautiful aspect of the Scriptorium's work. This is the part of the process that truly transformed a simple, copied text into a work of breathtaking art. We are about to explore the art of illumination. This wasn't just about making the text pretty. It was a form of devotion, a way of adding beauty, meaning, and power to the words on the page. Imagine a monk who has spent weeks or even months patiently copying line after line of text. Now, a new kind of work begins. This work is slower, more deliberate, and filled with a different kind of quiet. It is the work of the illuminator, a skilled artist who would fill the blank spaces on the pages with vibrant colors, intricate patterns, and miniature pictures. The name illumination comes from the word illuminate, meaning to light up, and that is exactly what these artists did. They brought light and color to the words of the book, making them glow with a kind of inner beauty. The creation of these vibrant colors was a quiet art in itself, a form of alchemy using the natural world. Imagine the humble workshop of a color maker monk, a space filled with earthen jars, small pestles, and the faint, earthy scent of minerals and plants. This monk's task was to turn raw materials from the earth into the rich, glowing pigments that would adorn the manuscripts. One of the most famous and difficult colors to create was a brilliant, vivid blue. This color came from a rare, precious stone called lapis lazuli, which had to be carefully imported from faraway lands. Imagine the quiet, painstaking work of crushing this hard stone. You might hear the low, rhythmic scrape, scrape, scrape of a heavy stone pestle against a mortar, continuous sound that could go on for hours, turning the beautiful blue stone into a fine, soft powder. The resulting pigment, called ultramarine, was so valuable that its use was often reserved for the most important manuscripts, like those commissioned for kings or popes, or the robes of the Virgin Mary in a painting. But lapis lazuli was just one color. The monks created a full palette from a variety of sources. Imagine red pigments derived from grinding dried insects or from minerals. Hear the gentle, crisp snap of a small piece of carmine being broken and the low, steady grind as it's turned into a fine crimson powder. Yellows came from plant-based sources, and greens were often created from copper compounds. Gold and silver, for the most luxurious manuscripts, were used in the form of very thin, delicate leaves. Imagine the softest rustle of this gold leaf, almost like a whisper, as it was carefully transferred onto a page. Its glowing presence transforming a letter into a radiant work of art. The quiet art of mixing these pigments with binders, like egg whites or animal glue, was a part of the process. A quiet experimentation to create the perfect consistency and color. The air in this workshop would be filled with the subtle, earthy, and sometimes sweet scents of these raw materials. A natural perfume that was the very foundation of artistic beauty. With the colors prepared, the illuminator would begin their work, a process of incredible patience and artistic devotion. Their task was not to simply draw pictures, but to bring the text to life. They would decorate the borders of the pages with intricate patterns of leaves, vines, flowers, and even mythical creatures. These borders often told their own stories, filled with tiny details that would reward a careful observer. The illuminator's hand would be incredibly steady and precise, guided by a deep focus. You might hear the softest swish of a fine-tipped brush, almost like a sigh, as it gently applied a thin line of color. The sound of a tiny brush being dipped into a small pot of pigment would be a gentle dab. It's a small deliberate note in the profound silence. And then there were the initial letters, the very first letters of a sentence or a chapter. These were often transformed into their miniature masterpieces, growing in size and complexity, filled with vibrant colors and intricate designs. Imagine a letter A or I not just as a letter, but as a small, complex work of art, with tiny faces of saints, beautiful animals, or swirling patterns woven into its very shape. The purpose of this decoration was not just for beauty, it was also to help the reader find their place in the book, to guide their eye to the beginning of a new thought. The quiet work of adding these tiny details, using a brush with only a few hairs, was a profoundly meditative practice. The monk's hands, so disciplined in copying text, now expressed a different kind of devotion. A reverence for the words through the quiet language of art. The illuminations also served a crucial role in symbolism and storytelling. The images and designs were not random. They often provided a deeper, more symbolic meaning to the text, a visual commentary on the words themselves. A picture of a lamb might symbolize Jesus. A serpent might represent evil. The tiny images in the borders or inside the letters would tell miniature stories, reinforcing religious or moral lessons. A layperson who couldn't read the Latin text could still get a sense of the story and the moral lesson from these beautiful, silent pictures. The quiet contemplation of the monk as he decided what image to place. The gentle stroke of the brush were all part of this profound act of visual storytelling. They were bringing these stories to life with colors, with gold, and with immense care. Imagine holding a page from one of these manuscripts in your hands. The smooth, cool feel of the vellum. The rich, vibrant colors glow against the aged paper. The soft shimmer of gold leaf. The deep stillness and quiet that would be required to create such a thing are almost overwhelming to consider. The monk's work was one of patience, precision, and profound artistic expression. It was a testament to how the mundane act of copying could be elevated into a quiet form of spiritual and artistic devotion, leaving behind a legacy not just of preserved words but of enduring beauty. The very existence of these manuscripts today is a testament to the immense value placed on every single word and every single artistic detail. Having followed the delicate brushstrokes of the illuminator, our quiet journey now leads us to the heart of the scribe's ultimate purpose, the painstaking, slow, and deeply deliberate process of reproduction. And this was not a fast, efficient assembly line. On the contrary, It was a work of immense patience, where time was measured not in minutes or hours, but in pages, in lines, in individual, carefully crafted letters. Imagine a monk sitting in his carrel, the soft light from a window or a candle falling upon the page before him. The immense stillness of the room is palpable. He knows, as he begins his work, that this single manuscript may take him months, even years, to complete. This quiet, unhurried pace was the fundamental rhythm of the Scriptorium, testament to the immense value placed on every single word. Think about the sheer amount of time that was poured into a single book. A book was not just a book. It was a treasure, a culmination of countless hours of dedicated, focused labor. The monk's day was long, often beginning before dawn and ending only when the light was too dim to see. The work was demanding, and the silence was deep. The only sounds for hours on end might be the soft, rhythmic scratching of his quill on the vellum, the careful turning of a page in the master copy, the quiet sigh of the monk as he stretches a cramped hand or rests his tired eyes for a moment before returning to the painstaking task. This was a profound, almost spiritual act of sheer endurance. The monk's body would be still for long periods, his fingers and his mind in constant, focused motion. This silent discipline and profound stillness of the body and the relentless activity of the mind and hand. It was a testament to their unwavering dedication and their powerful commitment to their sacred duty. The invaluable work of these scribe monks went far beyond just the act of copying. They were the primary guardians of knowledge, the living libraries of a civilization in need. In a time when chaos and disorder followed the fall of Rome, these monks were the quiet, determined force that kept the flame of classical learning from going out. Their work was the main way that classical texts, the foundational works of Greek and Roman philosophy, science, and law, were transmitted and preserved. Imagine a monk copying a work of Plato or Aristotle. He was not just reproducing text, he was ensuring that the thoughts and ideas of these ancient minds would survive to be read and understood by people centuries later. The world we know, our understanding of history, literature, and even science, stands on the shoulders of this painstaking, quiet work of preservation. The sounds of their work were the sounds of history being preserved, one letter at a time, echoing through the silent halls of the Scriptorium. But these monks were more than just passive copiers. They were also subtle, unsung inventors, or problem solvers, and in their quiet, methodical work, they developed new techniques and new ideas that were born of necessity. The task of binding a book, for example, was a complex and quiet craft in itself. The monks had to develop techniques for sewing the pages together, creating sturdy leather or wooden covers, and ensuring the book would withstand the test of time. Imagine a monk in a quiet workshop, the soft snip of a thread being cut, the careful pull of a needle through the pages, the rhythmic tap-tap-tap of a small hammer shaping the leather of the cover. These were the quiet sounds of a dedicated craftsman, and their innovations in bookbinding are the very basis of how books are made even today. They were also intellectual innovators. They developed early forms of indexing and organization to make the vast amounts of knowledge they were preserving more accessible. Imagine a monk, having just finished copying a long, complex text, now sitting in quiet contemplation, thinking about how to make it easier for a future reader to find a specific piece of information. They began to create tables of contents, to add page numbers, to develop early forms of indexes and cross-references. These were not loud, dramatic inventions, but quiet, intellectual ones, born of a simple, logical need. They understood that knowledge, if it was to be useful, had to be findable. And so, in their quiet way, they invented the very tools of navigation that we take for granted in every book and website today. Their slow, patient work of preservation was not just about the words themselves. It was about creating a system of knowledge that would continue to grow and be useful for centuries to come. These monks, with their simple tools and quiet lives, were truly the guardians of civilization. They worked not for fame or glory, but out of a deep sense of purpose and devotion. The physical toll on their bodies was immense, but their spirit was unwavering. They were the silent heroes who ensured that the light of knowledge would never be completely extinguished, and that the wisdom of the past would be faithfully transmitted to the future. The quiet hum of the Scriptorium was the sound of a legacy being built, one patient page at a time. The very existence of our modern world, with its access to information and its rich history, stands on the shoulders of their painstaking and dedicated quiet work. Having journeyed through the disciplined daily life, the meticulous craftsmanship, and the quiet innovations of the Scriptorium monks, our path now leads us to the most profound aspect of their story, their lasting legacy in the modern world. Their work did not end when the last page was turned or the last book was bound. Their painstaking, quiet labor echoes through the centuries, directly shaping our understanding of history, of literature, and of the world itself in ways we often take for granted. Imagine a scholar today, sitting in a quiet library, reading a Latin text by an ancient Roman philosopher. That text, more often than not, survived the millennia because a monk, working by candlelight in a scriptorium, made a copy. Without their relentless dedication to preserving classical texts, much of the great wisdom of ancient Greece and Rome, from the philosophy of Plato to the medical knowledge of Galen, would have been lost to us forever. The very foundations of the Renaissance, the rebirth of learning that shaped our modern world, were built on the rediscovered knowledge that these monks had so faithfully protected. The sounds of their pens scratching on parchment are the very echoes of our intellectual heritage being saved, one line at a time. The world we know, our understanding of history, literature, and science, stands on the shoulders of this silent, determined work of preservation. But their legacy is not just about ancient texts, it is also about our history. The monks wrote the chronicles, the histories, and the records of their own time, documented the lives of kings, the stories of towns, and the events of their world. Their patient, careful handwriting, preserved for 1,000 years, is our primary window into the past. Imagine a historian today, carefully deciphering a monk's elegant script, their voice a whisper in a hushed archive. That historian is directly connected to the monk who sat in his carrel 1,000 years ago, quietly observing and documenting the world around him. This profound, unbroken line of intellectual connection is a testament to the power of their work. The sound of a historian's soft breathing as they read a fragile manuscript is a direct continuation of the monk's quiet dedication. Beyond their invaluable role in preserving history, the monk's quiet, disciplined work holds a unique and powerful appeal for us today. It is a form of meditative appeal, a profound sense of peace to be found in slow, focused creation in a world that is so often fast, frantic, and distracting. In our modern lives, we are constantly bombarded with a relentless stream of noise, both audible and mental. We are encouraged to multitask, to move quickly, to consume information without a pause. The very idea of sitting for hours in a profound silence, focused on a single creative task, can feel both alien and deeply appealing. The life of a scribe monk offers us a powerful counter-narrative. It shows us the beauty and deep satisfaction that can be found in a slow, patient process. The sounds of their work, the rhythmic, gentle scratch of a quill, the soft thud of a book, the quiet hum of immense concentration can be seen. In a way, as a form of historical ASMR, a soothing, rhythmic soundscape that invites inner calm. Their work was not just about the final book, it was about the journey, the meditative act of creation itself. Their life was a testament to the idea that true value can be found not in speed, but in focus, not in a loud clamor, but in a quiet, unwavering dedication. This idea, this sense of peace and slowness, is a profound and powerful echo that we can listen to today. And in that spirit, we want to pay a final tribute to the silent heroes who ensured knowledge survived. They were not great generals or powerful kings. They were humble, dedicated individuals who sat in silence day after day for months and years. Their victory was not won in battle, but in the quiet discipline of their craft. They fought against the destructive forces of time and decay with nothing but a quill and parchment, and they won. Their legacy is not just the books they left behind, but the profound example of how quiet, focused work, done with dedication and love, it can have an impact that lasts for 1,000 years. The very existence of our modern world, with its rich history and deep access to information, stands as a monument to their tireless, quiet, and monumental work. Their story reminds us that even in silence and solitude, our efforts can have a profound, enduring, and beautiful effect. as our tranquil journey into the quiet world of the Scriptorium comes to a gentle close. We sincerely hope you have found a unique sense of profound peace and deep relaxation. This exploration of slow, meticulous creation offers a powerful antidote to the frantic pace of modern life. It shows us that in the silence of the past, there is a profound wisdom to be found that can soothe our minds and guide us to deep restorative rest. Thank you for allowing the gentle history to guide you through this fascinating and quietly brilliant corner of the medieval world. If this calm journey has helped you drift off, or find a moment of peace, or has simply enlightened you with new insights, please consider gently liking this video. Your gentle support truly allows us to continue bringing these unique, soothing historical stories to life for you and countless others seeking tranquility from the past. Please subscribe to the Gentle History channel to ensure you don't miss our next tranquil journey into the quiet rhythms of history. We are dedicated to providing you with more calming narratives, meticulously designed for your ultimate relaxation and deep, peaceful sleep. We truly hope these historical insights become a quiet, consistent part of your journey to restful nights, reminding you of the enduring power of human ingenuity and the profound beauty of a timeless gaze. May your night be filled with profound peace and truly restorative slumber. Good night.